Hey, I'm Brad Browning, and for more than 15 years now, I've been working with people all over the world to help them get a second chance with somebody they love. And after personally guiding thousands of people through breakups, there's one thing that I've learned with total certainty, and that is that your ex is very likely to start missing you, but only if you avoid making one incredibly common, emotionally destructive mistake. And unfortunately, that one mistake, most people make it. Not out of desperation or weakness, but out of instinct. Because it feels like the right thing to do when you're hurting, even though it almost always backfires. So today I'm going to walk you through exactly why your ex needs to miss you, truly miss you, before they'll ever consider giving your relationship another shot. I'll explain the psychology behind that longing, the mistakes that ruin it before it ever develops, and the steps that you can take to flip your ex's emotional script and make them start questioning their decision to walk away. Now, let's begin with something obvious on the surface, but critical when you look deeper. And that is, if your ex doesn't miss you, they have no reason to come back. Now that might sound harsh, but it is reality. No matter how strong your connection was, no matter how great things were between the two of you, if they feel fine without you, then why would they change course? Now, breakups are usually driven by logic. Your ex had reasons. Maybe you argued too often. Maybe they felt unappreciated. Maybe the timing wasn't right, or they just needed space. And they convinced themselves that ending the relationship was the smartest, healthiest choice. And when the breakup is still fresh, that logic feels solid to them. But here's the thing. Emotion trumps logic every time. When someone starts to miss you, really miss you, in that gut-wrenching, heart-aching, I can't stop thinking about them kind of way, well, all that logical reasoning starts to fade. The scales tip. Suddenly, it's not about whether the breakup was smart. It's about whether they can stand feeling your absence. And that emotional pull, it's strong enough to override really everything else. I've seen people quit jobs, move across the country, completely reevaluate their priorities, all because they couldn't stand how much they missed someone that they'd left behind. When that longing takes hold, people, they break their own rules. They reach out, they second guess, they regret, but that only happens if they feel your absence in the first place. Which brings us to the mistake that ruins everything before it begins. The biggest, most common way that people sabotage their chances after a breakup is by staying too available. Now, it sounds counterintuitive, right? You might think that if you just stay close, if you're friendly, kind, emotionally supportive, your ex will realize how great you are and miss having you in their life. But in reality, you're doing the opposite. By sticking around in any form, replying to messages quickly, initiating conversations, agreeing to be friends, being physically or emotionally available, by doing that, you're softening the blow of the breakup. You're acting like a safety net. And you're making it easier for them to let you go because they're not really letting you go. I mean, think about it. You don't miss something that's still within reach. You don't long for something that never left. And your ex can't truly feel the weight of your absence if you're still orbiting their life. Every time you reply to a casual message, every time you check in just to see how they're doing, every time you let them call you to vent or talk about their day, you're giving them emotional comfort. You're being their ex and their support system. And in doing so, you're teaching them that they can move on without losing you entirely. And that kills any urgency that they might have felt to question the breakup. There's no fear of loss, no sense of consequence. And that is the core issue. What compels someone to rethink ending a relationship isn't politeness or pressure, it's emotional impact. It's the empty space that you used to fill in their daily life. If they don't feel that space, then they don't feel the loss. And if they don't feel the loss, they don't miss you. So the real power, the real emotional leverage comes from your absence, from the silence, from the sudden shift where you're no longer accessible to them on demand. Now, I do want to be clear. Going silent isn't about being manipulative or cold-hearted. It's not about making your ex suffer. It's about giving both of you the space to actually feel the reality of the breakup, because that's what creates clarity. When you step back completely, your ex is forced to live with their decision. They don't get a backup version of you in their inbox. They don't get your energy without the commitment. What they get is silence. And that silence speaks volumes. And really, this is why no contact is such a game changer. And if you watched any of my other videos, you've probably heard me talk about it before, so I'm not going to get too deep into it here. But just remember that no contact doesn't mean just, ignoring your ex for no reason. It's a purposeful decision to stop reaching out, stop replying unless it's absolutely, truly necessary. It's stop giving them access to your emotional world. It's not permanent. It's not meant to hurt them. It's meant to create contrast. It allows them to feel what life is like without you. Not kind of without you, but completely. And when that absence creates longing, if they start to miss your presence, your voice, your personality, that is when their resolve starts to crack. That's when they start to reflect, to reconsider, and to question. Now, I realize that a lot of people worry that ignoring their ex will simply push them away forever. But here's what I'll say to that. If your absence makes them disappear for good, they were already gone. But if it was someone you truly cared about, if there was real love and connection, then your disappearance will hit them hard. Not right away maybe, but it will hit. Now, of course, no contact isn't always easy. And it's not always black and white. If you share kids, work together, live under the same roof, you may not be able to go fully radio silent. And that's okay, because the goal is to eliminate non-essential contact and shift the dynamic. You go from emotionally available to emotionally neutral. So no long chats or personal updates, no joking like you used to. You keep it polite and distant. And if you've already broken no contact, maybe you've texted a lot, tried to hang out, or even slept together, that doesn't necessarily mean all hope is lost. It just means you've delayed the emotional consequences of the breakup. You can probably still fix it if you act quickly. Start by clicking the pop-up in the corner here or the link in the description below to watch my previous video where I explain exactly what to do if you're worried that it might be too late to go no contact. Now watch that video now, because the sooner you create distance, the sooner the real emotional work begins. Now, not every breakup situation plays out the same way. There are some scenarios where your absence alone might not be enough to turn things around. So for example, if your relationship was very short-lived or never got very deep emotionally, then your ex just might not have much to miss. If there wasn't a strong bond, if you only dated a few months and didn't build serious emotional memories, then of course your absence won't carry the same weight. Or if your relationship turned really toxic, full of betrayal, lies, emotional chaos, then it's possible your ex may remember pain more than love. People don't miss what they associate with trauma. They only miss what they value. And finally, if your ex had emotionally checked out long before the breakup, if they'd already started to detach weeks or months beforehand, then they may have already mourned the relationship internally. That emotional processing means your absence probably won't feel sudden to them. It'll feel expected. And in those cases, no contact can still help, but you'll likely need some more advanced strategies as well. Now, if that sounds like your situation, if your breakup was messy, or if you're unsure where you stand, I'd strongly recommend you take my free quiz at breakupbrad.com/quiz. It's confidential, it only takes a couple of minutes, and it'll give you a much clearer idea of what kind of odds you're dealing with. Now, before we wrap up, let's briefly talk about a few ways to quietly reinforce your ex's longing for you, even while you're maintaining distance. So firstly, start thriving. Focus on your physical and emotional well-being. Hit the gym, pick up a new hobby, reconnect with friends, start working on goals you've been putting off. When your ex starts hearing that, you're glowing up, that you're doing better, looking better, smiling more, it will hit them harder than really any text you could send them. Secondly, let some light jealousy do the work for you. I'm not saying, go out and date just to provoke a reaction. That can backfire if done in a spiteful or an obvious way. But if your ex, finds out you've been casually dating or sees a photo of you with new people, it will make them start to wonder if someone else is enjoying what they once had. And third, if and when you do eventually re-engage, subtly remind them of what made you special. Don't do this right away. Wait until they've had some time to miss you. But once you start communicating again, let bits of your personality shine. Remind them indirectly of the traits that they love the most. A joke, a memory, a moment of confidence or kindness. Those little sparks can reignite a lot of emotional memories. So the bottom line is this: if your ex doesn't miss you, they're not coming back. And if you're still hanging around emotionally, physically, digitally, they'll never miss you the way you need them to. So take a step back, go quiet, let them feel the loss. That silence, that space, it's not the end of the story. It's the beginning of your comeback. And if you want my help making that comeback happen, please sign up for my one-on-one coaching using the link in the description below. I would love to help you become my next success story. Good luck. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.